So, I guess recording there. Let's do this thing.
Perfect. Very excited.
Welcome to the U.S. We also have you off the side of the camera, but you can remain anonymous if you want.
I'll be anonymous. I can't say it.
Anonymous. That's fine. With your accent, everything that sounds pretty good though, to be honest.
Yes. Cool.
Because when we went to dinner the other night,
Yeah.
I was the only one being like, hey, what did you just say? Everyone else was doing that like typical thing, yeah, and just smiling. I'm like, there's no way they understood what you said.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, hey, what was that word you said? And I was like, and everyone, after we got out, and everyone's like, I'm glad you asked him what he said those few times, because I had no idea what he's saying. And I was like, see, that's what we...
There was one of the girls at our hotel, whatever, and she kept on asking me, and eventually she was just like, I'm struggling, like, and I said to her, well, I'll talk a bit slower, because like, for me, I find your accent, I can understand you guys, but for me, it's like they see me as strong.
Yeah.
So I just went a bit slower, and then she was like, oh, this is actually quite cool.
Yeah, your guys' accent's cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, we say, like, especially at the stand now, when I'm like, here's our Falsken. Like, everyone calls it the Veli here, where it's actually pronounced Veli.
Yeah.
And then often...
I don't even know what that word is. What are you saying?
It's like an Afrikaans.
It's a name for a chukka boot that we don't call them chuckers. We call
What is
them
it?
Falsken.
How do you spell it? With a
Veli.
V?
With a V, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild. And that's Afrikaans?
It's Afrikaans. It originates from the Dutch origin.
Dude, that's the crazy thing about South Africa is the Dutch influence down there, right? Because I'm like completely ignorant to all of South Africa, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, like being from a small town in the middle of the United States, you know, you kind of just focus on your own country, you know, and like you don't pick up a lot of the other aspects, the interesting things about these countries that are literally the other side of the world.
Well, like we said, not just because we're here, but our house is always open, and you're more than welcome to come and visit.
Dude, I'm coming for sure.
Yeah, we really planned this.
We'll take you around, we'll give you the history, and you know what, you're always welcome.
That would be so much fun.
Shout out and be like, okay, guys, like, can we come? And always.
I'm gonna come down for sure.
Yeah.
So the Dutch influence, is that kind of where the footwear industry came from in South Africa?
So the Dutch, they definitely had a big influence on the footwear industry. I'm not sure how true the story is, but apparently the Clark's footwear brand originates from the Dutch settlers and the Falsken or Veli that we make. So as the story goes, Nathan Clark, he was fighting in the war, I think it was up in Egypt, and he came across South African soldiers wearing Falskens, Velis. And he took this design back to Europe and founded the Clark's shoe business, and that's how the chukka boot became famous.
So who designed the chukka boot originally in South Africa? Was it from a Dutch inspiration?
As far as I know, from the Dutch inspiration.
Okay.
I think the Dutch, they picked that up from other maybe tribes down in the Western Cape, that side.
I think that happened. Like, they obviously picked up on other things. And
Right. So when did the Dutch first like colonize South Africa?
Yo. I'm not,
It
I'm
turns
not
out this
one for
podcast is
history.
a history lesson. Come on, you don't know a country's history? That's all right.
Yeah, I'll be making things up.
That's okay. We'll add a little bit. We'll do that like computer voice. It's like the Dutch invaded South Africa in so-and-so year.
The Dutch East India Trading Company set up a settlement in South Africa in 1652.
Yeah. Have we started? This is all
This is a podcast.
Oh, this is the podcast. Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
See, I told you it was very casual and conversational.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You're on the podcast now.
That's cool. It's cool. I'm happy.
But yeah, I feel like doing like this type of conversation is so much easier than like, tell me the history of the Dutch invasion of, you know, it's just like, it just feels way more casual than, because really, to me, I want to do this kind of thing so that I can get to know the people behind the brand, and also because especially where like Jim Green is a family-owned company, I literally didn't know that until we went to dinner the other night.
Yeah.
Like I knew you worked there and you're like one of the big wigs over there, but I had no idea you were part of like the family dynasty of Jim Green.
Yeah, that's correct. So I've been there almost 10 years now. So my grandfather and my father founded the company or our shoe factory in 1987, September 1987. My grandfather and father were actually working at a shoe factory prior to that.
Okay.
And
What brand was it? Is it still around?
it's not around today.
Okay.
But my grandfather, he was the accountant at the shoe factory, and my
All right.
father was actually a shoemaker in the factory. And because my grandfather had access, or he was looking at the counts every single day,
Oh, right.
he said to my dad, he said, listen, things aren't looking good here.
Oh,
And what they actually did is they left the company and they went and founded a shoe factory called Crouch Footwear. So
that's your last name, right?
Yeah, that's my last name. So we have the Crouch Footwear, which is still open today, and then we've also got the Jim Green brand as well.
Okay.
So yeah, my dad's been in the shoe industry over 40 years now. He's still involved there at the moment. He comes in 2 to 3 days a week, but
Okay.
yeah, he's seen quite a few shoes in his lifetime.
Because the Jim Green frog is a really interesting story. Because when we were at dinner, I was like, you mentioned it, and I was like, to be honest, I just thought it was like a southern U.S. frog for whatever reason. I never put any thought into it. I just was like,
But the weirdest thing is they think he's Jim, and
Yeah.
his last name is Green.
well, I call you Jim Green. Even
Yeah.
like, I'm like, it's just so much easier to be like, yeah, Jim Green's coming to the shop today, and then everyone's like, what? I'm like, it's easier to be like, oh, this is Gareth, and he's the guy at Jim Green, and just so they're coming, someone's like, yeah, Jim Green.
Actually, a frog. It's a frog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I thought it was like in the south of the U.S. At least there was like a nursery rhyme called like Froggy Went a Courtin'. At dinner, nobody knew what it was except for me. We'll put some audio over it so people can know what I'm talking about.
Froggy went a coating and he did right on. Froggy went a coating and he did right oh.
Because I think there's just like something with the South and frogs, and like he has like does he have like a hat on, or what is he? Let me look at him. Yeah, he's got like a top hat on. He's got a gun in one
Musket.
hand.
Yeah, it's probably so. I grew up around the brand, so for me, I would see it all day, every day. So for me, it just was the logo.
Yeah.
And when we opened up here in the States, and even today, I often get emails. No one wants to talk about the actual boots. They're just like, I really love your logo. And when
That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, and when you look at it, I mean, there's a frog wearing a pair of boots in dungarees with a top hat. And then just to top it off, he's got a musket in his,
Right.
and then the flag. So
I love that. So dungarees, is that just like pants with suspenders on?
yeah, with the suspenders.
So what's the real story behind the frog? Because it's clearly not from the south of the U.S.
So where we based in South Africa is on the inland from Durban, which is known as the Midlands Meander, well-known fly fishing.
That's that city on the port city that we were looking at?
Yes. So
Okay.
Durban, and it's probably about an hour and a half drive inland.
Okay.
And the frog is known to locals as a Jim Green, and it's used by questionable fishermen to hook a winning catch. So he's a bit of he's a
Okay.
cheeky little guy.
So they'll go find one of these Jim Green frogs, put it on their hook, throw it in the water, and it's still swimming around, and that attracts the big enough fish that. Okay.
Which is sort of frowned upon in the fly fishing community.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was sitting next to a guy on the plane. Apparently, Utah, Salt Lake City is well known for fly fishing. So
Yeah, I was more of a hunting. I came from a hunting family, so I don't know anything about fishing. But I still see all the Subarus in Salt Lake with those like the big poles, like the big tubes that they put their poles in. So I know it's big. I just have no context to it.
yeah, I've done a little bit of fly fishing, but yeah, more same as myself, more the hunting outdoor
Yeah.
side of things. And
So the frog is they call it the Jim Green frog.
the Jim Green, it's a more of a nickname than an actual. I don't know what its
Yeah.
actual name is. We've started our own little YouTube channel, and we said once the channel's big enough, we're gonna make an episode where we go and look for the Jim Green.
That'd be cool. I thought you were gonna say we're gonna make a boot out of 1,000 little Jim Green frogs. Just stitch them all together.
Jeez. No, yeah. After this, the limited edition buffalo skin boot we're making, that's been quite a logistical nightmare. Just
Oh, I
putting
bet.
that whole thing together. So to do one of little frogs would be something else.
I don't even think we did a good enough job of explaining how cool that was. Because walk me through like the whole process, because the thing I like about what you did with the buffalo skin is it's a very cyclical like cycle from an animal back to the people's feet who take care of the animals that the hide came from. So what is like the step-by-step process from it being on the animal to ending up on a pair of your boots on someone's feet?
Yeah, so it was quite a process, and how this idea all came to me is we obviously came out with the African Ranger boot, where for every 10 we sold, we donated a pair to a ranger in need.
Do you know how many off the top of your head you've donated to or to the African
So we
Rangers?
have raised 1,500 pairs,
Wow.
and we have already put onto feet 1,300. So
That is so crazy.
yeah, it's almost become, and where these rangers are located, it's logistically really hard to get the boots to them. So that alone's a whole story on its own. And then through the whole success of this African Ranger and the boot, and I mean, the boot speaks for itself. It's just the reviews we're getting and the feedback we're getting back on that boot's just unbelievable.
From the Rangers themselves?
From the Rangers, we even had 2 Rangers that went and raised £100,000.
Oh, wow.
And what they did was that they got dressed up in full anti-poaching kit with their rifles, everything, and they ran, I think it was 60 kilometers. I don't know what that is in miles, but maybe I think it's probably like 20 or 30 miles.
20 or 30, somewhere there.
20 or 30 miles, and they ran it in their African
Oh my
Ranger boots. And
Wow.
they said that was the most comfortable thing that they've ever worn. So
Well, that wedge sole I love that wedge sole because it's a thin wedge sole. 'Cause you see those Christie outsoles on like all the work boots, and they're big and they're heavy, and they don't actually have as much squish as they look like.
yeah, so we wanted to make this like a trail runner by the boot. So that's why we didn't want to make it too heavy. The more rubber you add on straight away, that's where most of your weight comes from. So the idea of this boot was to just make it as simple and as versatile as possible while having that durability of a boot. And then, just to loop back to the buffalo story, is that when we're doing some of the work with these rangers, lots of our sort of nature reserves or wild areas, their buffalo populations are sort of expanding, and buffalo carry quite a few diseases back home, which if these get into farmers' cattle, it's not good.
Oh, right.
So through disease control and population control, lots of these buffalo are actually removed off of these reserves. And I was chatting with a ranger, and he said to me, everything is used on the buffalo, even the horns. So there's even some company that buys the horns off the buffalo and then makes them look good and sells them on, but no one's doing anything with the skins. And the reason is because they're in such remote areas, it's so hard to get the skins, salt them, prep them, and then get them to a tannery.
Yeah, before they perish or start to rot.
Yeah, and especially because the skins have to be salted within an hour of the animal being skinned.
Wow.
And being in the middle of the bush, this is quite hard to do.
Just because it's so hot? Is that why you have to salt them so fast?
Because it's so hot, so it's before the skins start rotting.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other problem of, it's not like these animals are in a pen or anything like that. They're running wild. So once they've taken 1 or 2 buffalo off, that herd's disappeared. So it's a timely process. So we sent in a truck of a couple tons of the salt. There was a little setup where the rangers set up their own little hut where they would put the skins, and then we're doing 30 skins at a time, stacking them up, and then we would ship them, or not ship them, but courier them up to our tannery. And then so at the moment we've got all the skins, we're busy tanning them. The boots are on pre-sale on our website at the moment, and the support has been amazing once again. I mean, we're only delivering those boots in end of May, and even then the guys are getting involved and supporting it. So it's really a full circle process.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
And like the leather's cool too, because it's not like these farm raised animals, it's wild animals, and the leather reflects that. Like it's beat up, there's scars in it. It's really pretty leather, and just the way that the buffalo hide is, it just has a lot more character than what you see in like most cow hides.
Exactly, and it's also really durable leather as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing about, like, I've talked to, I think the guys at Horwings who I was talking to about this, because cordovan it's not even the same quality of cordovan as it used to be because horses, there's not as many horses that they're butchering like they do in Canada anymore. There's not as many wild horses. There's not as much of a selection, and the horses aren't quite as hardy as they used to be, and so the actual leather itself is thinner. And so the shell cordovan that we use in our boots today is still kind of an inferior version of what shell cordovan used to be in like the early 1900s. So these wild animals like that you guys have in Africa and turning the hides into leather, it would be a lot sturdier of a leather because they're not just standing in a field all day. They're out actually running away from hyenas, lions, and everything that you were showing us in those photos. He was showing us a video of like lions and hyenas like 20 feet away.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, it was pretty crazy.
There was a like insane experience we've ever. It was mind blowing. There was lions. There was hyenas. There was a hippo. There was a leopard. I mean,
so were you guys in a tent or what was the setting that you were in?
It was our honeymoon, so we were glamping.
Oh, so you were actively being hunted on your honeymoon.
And even like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, Case, wake up.
There's something crazy happening outside.
And I just hear those hyenas because they go like, woo.
Yeah.
And when you hear that noise, when there's like tens and more.
It's like 20 of them, 20. Because the leopard that killed an impala, then through all that action, the hyenas, that's sort of what they do. They follow the
scavengers.
They follow the lions and leopards while they're hunting because they're much more superior hunters. And once they make a kill, they sort of gang up and steal the kill away.
Pressure them out.
And then these hyenas thought that, dinner was served. Little did they know that there were 5 lions pretty close by. And then the lions came in, and then the lions ended up obviously taking the kill from the leopards and the hyenas. Yeah, and then like 40 minutes into watching this, Mr. Hippo just comes strolling.
Oh, really?
He comes in to just see what's...
Yeah. He's just like, I'm going to come and see what's going on here. Like, what do you guys...
It was an unbelievable, that's sort of a once-in-a-lifetime sighting. And it was our honeymoon, and it was amazing.
I would have assumed you were exaggerating if I hadn't have seen the actual video.
I have a video, yeah.
And we could potentially put it up on the podcast. It's a honeymoon video, so I don't know if we want to air it out to the whole world, but it is pretty wild.
We put it on one of our... I put a little episode up there because it was during the Patina Thunderdome, and I was doing I was wearing my African Rangers. So we actually I took some of the videos and stuff that we took on our honeymoon, and I put like a little 5-minute episode together. So
is that on your YouTube channel?
It's on our YouTube channel.
Okay, I'll put a link in the description for people so they can go check it out.
You can put the video clip up there as well. So it's like
I
edited to a little 1-minute action-packed. So
that's so cool.
Summary of what we experienced.
Dude, and speaking of your YouTube channel, I guess we didn't technically finalize the details of a giveaway before we hopped on the mics, but we talked about because you're in Utah for the outdoor. What is it called? The conference?
It's called the Outdoor Retailer.
Yeah, so that's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, outdoor gear show in the U.S. and it just happens to be in Salt Lake. So right down the road from us, like literally like a block from where I live. So that's what you guys are here for. And when you come to a show like this, you bring lots of boots and you bring lots of things to show off. But returning to South Africa with a bunch of boots ends up being quite the expensive endeavor. And so we talked over dinner about potentially just giving away those boots. Are we still on board with that?
Yep, I'm more than happy to do that. Yeah, so we've got a handful of sample. We've got basically our whole range with us.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're limited for sizes.
Right.
So we pretty much got, it's pretty much, I would say, one size of each from 8 to 11.
Okay.
Yeah, we just don't have the big sizes with us. So I'm more than happy to drop those off with you.
Okay.
And you're welcome.
Let's do that. So what we'll do is we'll do a giveaway, and we'll put a form in the description of this video and wherever else we're promoting this. And all you have to do is subscribe to the Jim Green YouTube and put your email in so we can know how to contact you, because we're only going to contact the winners through the email. And then we'll basically just put a big list of what boots they are and what sizes, and then just try to match everything and choose the winners in probably a couple weeks. So go enter to win if you're watching this or listening to it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So thanks for donating those.
Sure thing. Yeah, I think there might be maybe 15 or 20 pairs.
Cool.
Somewhere there. Limit, yeah. So most importantly would be to put your size, because we're gonna have to.
Right. Yeah.
We're gonna have to tie up which size for who.
So that's what we'll do. We'll do a little. The first question is going to be, are you subscribed to the Jim Green YouTube channel with a little hyperlink that takes you exactly to their YouTube channel. And then underneath that will be the size where you put in your size. And then underneath that is your email. And then all that's the information you'll need to enter the giveaway. And then we'll choose winners in a couple weeks and email the winners.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Let me cycle this camera because this stupid camera, sometimes it records for 30 minutes. Sometimes it records for 15. So Sony, step up your game. I'm sick of having to, I'll get on a ramble. Like I'll be like, this is going well. This video's being recorded. And I'll like look up at the monitor and it's like, hasn't been recording for 5 minutes.
Some of those moments as well, I'm like, I put all this effort in, I'm like going. And I'm like, actually not recording. Like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
what is going on?
You'll notice there's a hole in the wall there, and you'll notice there's a little bit of damage around this room. And sometimes I gotta let the anger out a little bit when everything stops recording.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a shoe print of a Jim Green that I chucked at the wall. I think that's actually what it is.
Yeah, when we're building our booth now, one of our shelving things has a hole in it because we never had a hammer, and one of the, we're still a fairly smallish business here in the States, and we go and buy all our booth stuff from IKEA, and then we go and build it, and it saves us a good couple hundred, if not thousands of dollars for the turnkey booths. And we didn't have a hammer, and we didn't have a drill.
You should have contacted me. We got a shop full of tools.
Yeah.
Next time you know.
So I was using my Jim Greens as a hammer, and I, by mistake, missed the kick a little bit to the left and put a hole through.
That's so funny.
One of our shelvings, but it's fine.
The impact, you need to get this booth done. And he was just like, fuck. I was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, luckily we got a drill, otherwise we would probably still be there putting it together.
We had these like really friendly people next door to us at a booth, and they were just like, they had the whole package. They had like drill kits and everything.
Oh, really?
And it was like, whoa. We're like, okay, well, this is going to save our lives. And it did. It actually saved us like a couple of hours, and then...
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Those trade shows are fun though, right? They're like so much work. But
a lot of
they're
work,
good
but they're
time.
fun. You know what, you meet so many people, so many different people, and in different industries, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because you guys have only been in the U.S. market for a couple of years now. Like, when was your official like first pair of boots sold in the U.S. that you shipped?
So that would have been, it was just after the Corona all kicked off, because I remember we had just gone into lockdown, and I was spending my mornings, we had a little spinning bike, and I was spending my mornings on the spinning bike. And I'd come across some other YouTubers that had talked about boots and had shown a bit of interest in us, and I was like, well, let me look into this. And that's when I came across your channel.
Right.
You only had about 10 or 15,000 subscribers. And that's when I started watching your channel, and that's how we started chatting. So right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And we only had about, I think we had about 30, we had airmailed in 30 pairs to the United States.
Okay.
And I was just basically, I was trying to communicate with every single guy that bought some of those first 30 pairs just to get their feedback and see what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And once I started getting all the feedback and realizing, you know, we might actually be onto, like, our South African made boots actually might have a place here in the US. And yeah, I can't believe that's 2.5 years ago. Now I'm sitting in your studio.
That's the coolest thing about like YouTube and media is like you just connect with people. Literally, if we dug a hole in the ground straight down, we'd pop out basically in South Africa. And now you're here in Utah, and we're chatting BS and having a good time.
Crazy.
It's so fun.
It is. It's amazing. And just like, because the convention was in Denver, and when they sent out, when I found out that it was moving to Salt Lake City, I was like, yo, what are the chances? And then obviously I connected, and here we are today. Finally got my Rose Anvil wallet, and I'm a happy man.
Shameless plug of our products. Because how many we've done the Fellies together. We did the Razorbacks. We did the African Rangers, and then you've sponsored a handful of integrated sponsors as well.
Yes. So
is that the 3 boots that we've cut apart?
Those are the 3 boots we've cut apart. The Razorback. That was sort of got us on the map here, you know, a really rugged, durable, affordable boot.
Well, it's just done so well. You know, and I think really what makes Jim Green stand out to the U.S. community is the wide toe box, because for whatever reason, especially like the Pacific Northwest brands have the narrowest lasts.
Yeah.
And like I have narrow feet, and I still order like wider wider widths because I just don't like have my toes squished. And so to have a Jim Green boot that looks good and has a wide, comfortable toe box, and comes from South Africa and all the stuff that we talked about with the exchange rates and making them slightly more affordable. And so, because how much is the Razorback right now?
So the more expensive Razorback in the fudge leather, that's $189.
That's so crazy.
Especially at this trade show, like I think everyone walks past and they're like, oh, South Africa makes boots, and they're like, look, and then sort of force them to come and talk to us, and then give them our little speech on our history and what we're doing for production in South Africa, and then we tell them our price, and all of a sudden their face changes. They're like, really?
Yeah.
Is that what these boots are retailing for? That's been the Razorback, an unbelievable boot, like having a little tank on your feet.
Yeah.
And what happened was that so many guys were using our Razorback, and then we started to get a couple emails about like, listen, can you make something a little bit more, maybe offer a wedge sole, because back home wedge soles aren't that popular. So we're learning
really?
a lot. I mean, and something that you're going to be amazed by is that we don't even get mock toe boots in South Africa. That is it doesn't exist.
That's so crazy, because we talked about that a little bit at dinner,
yeah.
and it's like, I just assumed that mock toes were an important part of the boot industry.
Yeah.
But really, like, mock toes don't have any intrinsic value to that mock toe stitch.
Yeah.
And so I really think it is just like an Americana, like from the old school iron workers that had wedge soled like mock toe boots. Because after we've done Mocktober for 2 or 3 years in a row, there's really only like a handful of boots that have a taller toe box that you could only get from a mock toe boot.
Yeah.
And so, so you guys coming over to the U.S., it's like, what's a mock toe?
Yeah. So we had this wedge sole that we didn't want, as we said earlier, we didn't want it to be too chunky. And then lots of guys were saying, listen, I love my Razorbacks, but how about something a little bit more lightweight, a little bit more versatile? And I actually before I joined the family business, I worked as a ranger, and I've always wanted to give back to and have that model where, through the sale of boots, we could raise some awareness for what the rangers are doing in our, in our wild areas, and hence how the African Ranger came. And my father, who's extremely old school, when I gave him this pitch that for every 10 we sold, we're going to give a pair away, his face, he just couldn't understand the whole process. And this is because I run our Instagram, and all our customers will know when people message, and that message, they're actually talking to me. And when they found out they're talking to me, they're even more amazed. And I've seen that people would you can spend a ton of money on getting professional photography done, but what the guys really want to see is, what are these boots doing, and do they actually do what you're promoting? And through our Boots for Rangers program, we actually want to show the world that these boots aren't just like a marketing gimmick. They're actually really rugged, really tough, and hopefully we can put that stamp on our boots, like the official boot of Africa's Rangers one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we partnered up with the Game Rangers Association of Africa, which is the official governing body of the Rangers, and they're aware of our brand because they grew up around the Jim Green brand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they've actually worn our boots all
Wow.
the time. And when I pitched this idea to them, they were just like, this is great.
Yeah.
So they actually oversee the whole project and make sure that the right guys are getting the boots. And it's not just someone at the trade show today was like, oh yeah, I was on safari and our guide was an amazing person. And I was like, well, we actually don't look after the guides that look after the tourists. We're looking after the rangers that are behind the scenes.
Yeah, the ones really doing like the conservation effort work.
Yeah, the ones that are doing, they're the ones up all night doing anti-poaching. They're the ones doing, the patrols. They're the ones that are dealing with, if there's, problem animals that have got out into communities. And so we really wanting to make sure that the right people are getting the boots.
Yeah. Well, that's something that's interesting that both of us have in common is like a little bit of work history using work boots. Look at that toasty boy just loving your lap. I'm sorry. We thought he'd maybe transition over to you.
Yes, I'm just like, come into my jacket because it's quite crazy.
toaster's really warm. Like I was quite,
I'm just like,
I was quite excited to come to your shop, and then I obviously been completely rude of me, but I'd forgotten about toaster. And then when I saw him when I came in, I was quite excited.
He's clearly forgiven you. It's fine. But yeah, your experience as an African ranger and like is similar to how I used to do like firefighting and construction work and working with boots. And I think that's part of why your boots resonate so well with people, because it's not just like some corporations designing some boot, having it marketed, or having a marketing agency deal with it, having someone in a different country manufacture them. You know, a lot of what you guys have done at Jim Green is that guerrilla marketing that is, and if anyone that doesn't know what guerrilla marketing is, it's like the free marketing, the cheapest way to do marketing. Instead of hiring an agency, instead of like hiring people to do this and that, you just do the most you can for as cheap as you can. And Jim Green is like the perfect example of how to break into a market with as little like marketing money as possible. Not, I don't know what your marketing budget is, but from what I've seen, most of your guys' success is like through making connections, being involved in communities and forums and comment sections, and built your brand in the US solely off of like a few videos from me, some from Carl Morawski. I think Stridewise has done a couple. And so for a fairly like smart guerrilla marketing plan you guys have had, you've really broken into the US market. Like when I go to forums and stuff, like Jim Green is often mentioned in forums.
Yeah,
which is wild.
Thanks very much. That's exactly what we've done, and obviously a big thanks to yourself and the rest of the community out there as well for obviously supporting our brand and helping with our growth as we go along. But we listen to our customers as well. So I'm always going back to the videos that are popping up on YouTube or the forums, and I'm seeing what the guys are saying, and I'm actually answering them. And quite a few people are like, "Oh, I can't believe you answered my question."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "But the video is out there. What's the difference between the email or commenting on a video or piece of content? You've got a question, we're gonna answer it for you."
Yeah.
We like that whole open approach to what we're doing at the factory. All our boots are made under the same roof. We'll never outsource any of our production. So, yeah, it's quite a close-knit environment that we're putting together.
And you guys have some videos of like the entire process of how your boots are made, right, on your channel?
That's correct. Yeah, so I've got two other brothers that are also in the family business now. So,
cool.
Yeah, there's a whole little herd of us Crouches. Yeah.
Cool.
And so I've got a middle brother, and then I've got a brother that's 10 years younger than me. And
a little baby boy.
Yeah.
20, what is he, 21?
He's 21.
Yeah, okay.
He's got a bit of experience in editing and
cool.
And filming. So we take our iPhone and we've bought about a $10 microphone from the local store, and yeah, we do some how it's made videos, and
That's
then
cool.
I've been doing some videos on just like my African ranges that I've been wearing.
Yeah. And they're looking good.
Yeah, I think I did an episode before I came here of me cleaning them with some Smith's leather balm, and I was going to put them to the test out here in the snow and the rain and walk in the streets and see how they do, and they've been really great.
Yeah, because we got snow last night, and we were talking before we started recording. Was it the very first time you'd seen snow, like actually falling?
So yeah, like I've seen snow, but I haven't like ever had it like fall.
Yeah.
So I was just embracing it, and like I said to you, it was just so amazing, and it was quite special. Like I said, it actually touched me a bit because I was just like, wow, I've never seen it fall. Like I said, I was like,
That's so cool. Had you seen snow fall before?
I have. But it was so long ago that I actually can't remember where I was.
That's and this is a podcast about boots, but that's the most romantic thing ever. Just thinking about you two in the snow last night, looking up at the snow falling.
That was the first 30 seconds, and then it got cold and it got a bit wet. And
yeah, but it was like it happened so quickly because we were having a slice of pizza, and then it was just rain, and then suddenly like this. He was like, no, it's snowing. And I saw it coming down, and I was like, this is so cool.
Okay, here's the question. Did you guys kiss under the snowfall?
I wanted to do like that whole thing, when you like lift the leg, like, boing.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not really a
Gareth.
I'm not a romancy guy.
No PDA from Gareth? Okay.
I was like hoping for that little like
Hey, it might snow again. You might have a second shot.
I've got a second shot now. Yeah, I'm picking up on the tips, the hint.
Yeah, because you guys chose, because the thing too was it wasn't just like a regular snow. It was like the clumps of snow coming down was like an inch wide.
Yeah, there was heavy rain, and then the heavy rain turned like white, and I wasn't sure if I was seeing things, and then yeah.
And then the wind came as well. It was just like
A full combo.
full combo.
Because to me, like last night, like I was kind of just wearing like a overshirt because I was like, oh, it's a nice warm night. Were you guys just like freezing to death?
This helped me.
Yeah,
but I had like my tights on and my normal sneakers.
Yeah.
And eventually like it was pretty cool, and then it suddenly like it got cold, and I was like, we need to get back to the hotel. Like it's been fun, it's been beautiful, but like go.
Over it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What about mountains? Is there like huge mountains like that we have on the Wasatch Front here in South Africa, or is that kind of like another thing? You're like, holy shit, these things are like some tall mountains.
Well, yeah, where we from, just outside of Durban, we're really close to the Drakensberg mountain range.
Okay.
So we do get some really beautiful mountains, but we can't see them from where we live.
Oh, okay.
It's a good 2-hour drive to get to the base, and then those mountains actually go into Lesotho, which is a tiny little country in the middle of South Africa.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that country, to be honest.
You would never have heard of it. Yeah, and that's a really mountainous area, well known for its diamond mines. And then, after the Drakensberg, it gets pretty flat all the way through.
The Drakensberg it's pretty. It's very, obviously we get the snow, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
This is just, it's almost like a postcard. It's beautiful.
Well, I was on a flight. I came back to Utah. I think it was on a trip or something, and I was flying in with somebody, and someone just next to me on the plane, and they were talking about, I was like, yeah, like Utah's like just tucked up into the mountains. And I never thought about it that way because I was raised in central Utah where we're even closer to the mountains down there. Like I was in a tiny town, and like our backyard was the mountains. Like we went four-wheeler riding up through there, hiking, hunting. And so I've always been used to just being nestled up into the mountains. And then on that flight in, and this lady was talking to me, and I was looking at Salt Lake, and I was like, whoa, it really is like tucked into the mountains. It's wild.
Amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, we actually said the next time we come here for trade shows or some work that we actually want to get out of the big cities and
just explore and
go and stay in these nice little towns and actually embrace the culture and everything like that. So it's been quite a busy schedule for us the last 2-3 weeks, but a long flight back home as well. But it's been such a good time, and it's just an amazing country and a cool experience as well.
Yeah. So when you were an African ranger, so what was your official like job when you were a ranger of some kind?
So when I left university, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I'd always had a passion for the outdoors. And I was like, I must go and study. I just wanted to learn more about the trees and the animals and how social structures work. So I went and studied to be a guide.
A guide?
A guide, yeah.
Okay.
So like
guard or guide?
A guide.
Sorry.
A guide.
G-A-U-R-D.
G-U-R-D-E, yeah, guide.
Okay.
So so I went and did like a 3-month course, learned about the birds, the trees, the animals, everything like that. And then I was like, I actually really love this. And then I wanted to be a walking guide. So I take tours through the wild areas, which is quite a process to get qualified in because you have to have a certain amount of dangerous game encounters, and then how to obviously protect the guys, your customers that you're walking around. So it would be a maximum of 8 people at a time, and we had to have two guides on the walking tours. And what we would do is I worked in the south of the Kruger, and I had a head guide because I was quite inexperienced at the time, and I was building up my hours as a walking safari guide. So you never got like the lions and the leopards all day. It was quite hard to come by them because, for hundreds of years humans have hunted animals. So when they pick up on your smell or anything like that, especially when the wind changes direction, they normally run off. So it was mostly elephants, rhinos, and just basically being out there without the noise of a vehicle in your ear and It was very peaceful. Learned a lot. Had some really great encounters. And then I had a friend working at a luxury lodge. And he said to me, listen, you've got to come here. It's a great experience. And I ended up at this fancy lodge, which was unbelievable. But I was in a vehicle all day driving people off-road.
Okay.
It was really great because it was a very different experience to walking. And then I got the phone call from my father saying, you need to come back to the factory. So that's how I ended up back at the shoe factory.
So do you miss being a guide?
I miss it all the time, and lucky, my wife and I, my wife loves being out there as well. So we got engaged in the bush. We went on honeymoon in the bush, and
we love the bush.
We love the bush.
It's just something different. It's something that, you know, if you do come and visit us.
When, not if. When.
Yeah, we'll be out there.
Yeah, you're going to come and visit us, and you'll just see what we obviously experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's also like a hidden gem, just like you have here in Utah with the beautiful mountains and whatever, the wildlife there, and just, you know, obviously what like you were saying, as what the rangers do and how they help the animals. It's phenomenal. It's South Africa.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of people don't fully appreciate what it's like to be close to nature. You know, as like cheesy and cliche as that is, but more particularly like around big animals. Because like I was raised hunting and I was raised on a farm, and so I've always been around big animals, and they still kind of give you that awe of like, oh my gosh, this thing is like, it's wild and it's like 1,000 pounds. This thing is like within like 20 feet of me. And a lot of people don't get that experience of like that real visceral thing where you can actually smell the animals that you're close to. Like several times where you like, we've been hunting, we get into a little grove and you can smell the elk. You can like they've been there recently. Yeah. And it's such a unique like human experience that so many people miss out on, because it's just, how do you do that in downtown New York City or wherever it happens to be, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's a part of like human nature too, is like that connection with big animals and nature. And that's why, sorry, he's just comfortable with you. Yeah. Speaking of being comfortable with nature,
he wanted to leave. Then he was like, no, I'm coming back.
He's like, yeah, that guy's pretty warm.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just going to rest my bum there. It's comfy.
So let's say you were a multi-billionaire and Jim Green was still your passion project and you were king of the world of boots. What would you do with Jim Green if there was no limits and no monetary restrictions? Like, what would be your dream for Jim Green?
I've actually thought about this exact question before.
Good prep work.
Yeah, it's been good prep work, and my wife and I have actually chatted about it, and I don't think I would change much. But if I had all the money, or if I was a billionaire or had a couple billion, then I would probably buy my own land to look after, to do some conservation and to look after it. But in terms of tying Jim Green into that, I think I wouldn't change anything. Maybe just, do you want to do it on a larger scale? Maybe not. I think where we are at the moment with our production, it's South Africa is still our biggest market, but all you got to do is read the news on what happens, and it's quite a very up and down market. Yeah. So the support from the US, and we've recently opened up in Germany as well through a distributor there. And it's, I would want to build the factory up where we build our, almost like a family, that's still that same family atmosphere. Yeah. While at the same time, everyone's comfortable and happy. So we've got some employees that have been with us for over 30 years.
Yeah. Well, you told me, what was the guy that's been there forever? He like lasted one of the.
Yeah. His name's EB. He's still there today.
And what was the story? What did he do?
No, he was involved in the original Jim Green.
So he's been there since the beginning.
He's been there since day one would have been when you opened. So he was there when making the very first boots, and he's still there today. And I think ideal situation would be if we could look after a big piece of land, have rangers and have an ethical shoemaking business in South Africa.
The Jim Green Game Reserve.
Exactly.
So, see, I feel like that's like a big difference between your guys' brand and a lot of other people's brands. Even if people can't necessarily, they don't know or they don't necessarily pinpoint why they resonate with your brand, but because you guys are a family-run business that I didn't even know after doing several businesses, and the fact that you support your community, you support the African Rangers, you do all these things, you have these altruistic goals and ideals, I think it resonates in your products. And this is like something I've thought about, especially being from the U.S. It's a very capitalistic country where everything's about more margins, like faster production, bigger production, and because of that, we get a lot of turnover with our employees, just generally across the board. And so to have like one employee that's been there that long, and everything that Jim Green is working towards is really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks very much. And like often I think to myself, say, well, should we make a new boot? And then every time I think about what I can and can't do, but the Razorback pretty much answers all those questions.
Yeah.
When I think about making like the ultimate boot. So I mean, if we could just, make sure that our factory and all the employees are happy, and being in the same factory for 35 or about 30, what's 87, about 35 years, almost 35,
Yeah.
Now that the new generation, like myself and my brothers, are moving in there, we're wanting to let's get some new paint on the walls. Let's make this place look really good, and let's create a bit more space, and let's do this and let's do that. So we're bringing some new ideas to the factory.
That's cool.
And if we can get to a level where we are all, a steady production run, where we know every single day for a full year, everyone can come to work and they know that their job is secure, because South Africa has a 30% unemployment rate.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
And is that an economics thing, or is like why is it so high?
It's just we've had a rough 10 to 15 years of just what's been going on in our government, and there's lots of corruption and dodgy deals going on, and we're one of the last remaining factories in South Africa that pays 100% of the legal wage rate as well. Yeah. So all our employees earn the legal wage rate and more. So if we do have a good year, then there are bonuses and 13th checks, and which we do give out to them, especially for long-serving employees as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So we're quite fortunate in that way that there's an employees, the guys want to come work with us.
Yeah.
So we get some really nice and skilled employees that do come, and they join the family, and sort of once they're happy there, that's where they work. They're there every day.
So is your goal to be in charge of Jim Green for the whole career? Like, what's the career path for you for Jim Green?
I would love to be involved in Jim Green forever, and get it to a stage where I can also spend time working in conservation and in the bush. So at the moment, I'm flat out with Jim Green and pushing our African Ranger and the whole Jim Green story. And if we can get to a stage where we can, get a helping hand here and there when I'm away, and go out and do some conservation, or go and spend some time in the bush, or some areas that aren't very touristy, and go and see what's happening out there.
Yeah.
And if the guys who are protecting those areas are wearing Jim Greens, I would say that would be a good success and an interesting story.
Well, that's really something that's interesting about Jim Green too. Is like the big debate always with like these heritage boots is like, you got the old guys that used to work in work boots, and they're like, these young hipsters wearing these boots for style, and they're like, and then like the guys that wear them for style are like, these old crusty bastards. They're always mad at us for calling us hipsters. Who even uses the word hipster anymore? And there's like there's always this argument going on. And the cool thing about like Jim Green is like they're made by people that are working hard, made by people that have worked in the bush. They're made for people that are in the bush. It's made and so it becomes this really universal boot, and it's what's really like made Jim Green stand out to me, and why it's like and because it's from South Africa, it's not influenced by the same things that a lot of the American brands are influenced with, and that's why it's such a unique lineup. So I think you guys have done an awesome job. Like I said, your guerrilla marketing's been awesome. Your products are awesome, and it's cool to hear a lot of like behind the scenes things that I didn't know before we started talking since you've been here.
Yeah.
You know, because people, I don't think they knew that it was a family owned. I don't think they knew you had experience with in the bush. I don't think they quite understood how you guys run your business with the wages and everything. And so that's why I want to start doing some more of these like sit down just conversations, because it's just fun. You know, like we get a chat, but also like the consumer gets to see a little bit behind the curtains, gets to meet some of the people that are doing who's running the brands, who are positioning the products, designing the products. So yeah, it was good having you guys on. Even though you didn't want to be on, you're still on.
I'm here.
So yeah, any other last comments, any questions? Want to plug some of your social media, plug anything you guys want to plug?
No, I think, you know, everything's so easy to find online today.
Yeah.
But from our side, it's just more of a big thanks. And
we'll put links to everything in the description so that people can find your Instagram, your website, your YouTube channel, and because I guess we'll put like the South African website there as well, because the South African people order on that website, Americans order on the international website, right?
that's correct. South Africa is still taking its time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember when I first started watching YouTube on my phone, came back to my wife, I was like, we need a smart TV. Like, I can't just watch YouTube on my phone all the time. So South Africa's, we're taking, like, the general population is taking their time to catch on to podcasts and YouTube and all these things. But it's definitely getting there. But yeah, from our side, just a massive thanks for all the support and the interest. And
it's such an honor to be in your studio and to chat to you.
Well, thank you.
Toaster.
Mostly toaster.
Mostly toaster.
Well, it's fun having you guys because for us, it's just like, it's fun because we've worked together for so long, and it's like where you guys are on the other end of the planet is like, how do you get together and actually make connections? And as you guys have probably noticed, the older you get, really the only time you spend time around people and meet new people somehow has to be involved with work.
Yeah.
And so like, that's what's cool about what we do is like, the people that are into boots and shoes and about the quality and they want to invest in things, usually they're pretty solid people. I've yet to meet an influencer or people that work for brands that I haven't got along with. Yeah. It's cool.
No, exactly. And as I've learned from when we're trying to start our YouTube channel, I take my hat off to you. No one realizes what goes into making an episode. Like, you make it look so easy, like you sit down and off you go.
But there's so many different things that come to it to make it,
to make it, from start to finish, enjoyable, entertaining, and you've done such a great job.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate it. And a lot of it's due to the team that we have. Like, you guys did the tour, and you saw we've got a few editors. We've got, we've got a team that really makes all the videos possible, because I used to do it all by myself, and I was up till 3 a.m. every single night doing it all. And so a large part of the success is because of the crew that we have. We just got an awesome crew. So a huge shout out to the Rose Anvil crew. They kill it.
Hats off to them.
Yeah, another shout out. 100%.
A major shout out to Toaster.
Yeah.
The main reason we're all here today.
He's had a long day's work.
He's the main man there. He's just like, he needs it.
I don't think Toaster fully appreciates how good of a life he has. I don't think he understands that most cats don't just get put in a kennel in the nice warm morning. I heat up a little rice bag for him. I put it in his kennel. We put him in the car. I truck him all the way to the shop. I let him out. And then for the entire 8 hours of work, he just rotates laps. As soon as somebody's sick of him sitting on a lap, he'll move to someone else's lap. And so he just spent, like, honestly, the majority of his life is spent in contact with a human, because he's always sleeping on people, and he's got to be up there with the top 50 most famous cats in the world.
Has to be.
And he just doesn't understand it. He just blissfully unaware, just loving, just wants to sit on your lap. Maybe not your lap, but it's not your fault.
He'll come, but he's special anyway.
Yeah.
Even though he's not on my lap, he's special. And I love his little paws.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming in and hopping on the first, I guess, technical podcast. So thanks for coming in.
It'll be a good one, and thanks for having us. It's been really enjoyable.
Okay, and then everyone that's watching, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. Subscribe to our channel, the Jim Green channel, the main Rose Anvil channel, and give us some feedback on what you guys liked, what you didn't like, and how we can better improve this style of content. And thanks for everything you guys do, and thanks to you guys again, and see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything, and we will see you in South Africa.
Yes, one day.
No. you're gonna come.
maybe even this year. Who knows?
Maybe yeah, anytime. Like I said, our home is open to you, and you're always welcome. Cool.
As long as I bring toaster.
Now Jack Russell might disagree. Make a plan. We'll put him in the naughty corner.
There we go. All right, we'll see you guys.
Cheers.